Welcome back to Solo Adventures. My name is Livi, and I'm here back again with another BGG Solitaire P&P contest game review. So the game that we're going to be looking at today is Thag the deck building game. Thag the deck building game is exactly what it sounds like. It is a deck building game about a caveman named Thag. So as usual, if you're not interested in watching me play this game, you can feel free to skip to the end to hear my final thoughts. Otherwise, let's check this game out. Alright, let's get set up for a game of Thag the Deck Builder. So we have our skill cards and we have our hazard cards. So separate out from the main skill card deck these cards with an S in the upper right. These are the cards that are going to make up our starting deck. And then from the hazard deck, you're going to want to take out this card that says T-Rex Attacks. So the game ends when we defeat the T-Rex, or of course if we die. So we mix the T-Rex Attacks card into somewhere in the last 8 cards. So we know it'll show up at some point near the end of the game. We won't be entirely sure when the T-Rex will attack. But when that happens, it triggers the end of the game and the boss fight. So put this on the bottom. And put the rest of the hazard cards that you've hopefully already shuffled on top. The cards that you'll use for the boss fight are their own separate little mini deck. But we don't need it now. So here we have shuffled up the skill cards that we'll be able to buy to improve our deck. And we have our markers set at 10, which is our health track. So let's begin. The first thing that we do in Thag is every round we draw 6 cards. So the only cards that we have in our hand right now are Make and Hit. This is a little bit like Friday in that, of course, our starting cards are not super good and maybe we're going to want to get rid of these over time. But now this is what we've got to work with. So for the very first round, we don't need to draw from the hazard pile. We just deal out our first 3 skill cards that we can purchase. So this cost up here, by the little Thag and his tiny brain, is the number that we're going to have to spend to buy that card. And we buy the card with these little light bulbs. So this one is worth 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. Let's see how many points I have to work with this turn. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's pretty good. I think that I want to buy healing clay because this will be really useful going forward. And then the card that I buy and the card that I buy it with both get discarded. So we'll be able to play with it the next time we shuffle through the discard deck. And the medicine hut is also going to be super useful because it's a building that we'll be able to build, and then we'll be able to regain 1 health point per turn once it's built. So first when we buy the card, we have to put it in the discard pile, and we won't be able to start construction until we get it back in our hands, and then we have to put it sideways over here, and then we have to put some more cards on top of it, and after a few rounds we build it, and then it's functional. So it takes a little bit of time, but the buildings are very useful. So I can spend all of these. 1 extra point kind of goes to waste, but it's alright. And I have Medicine Hut. So after that would have been the hazard phase, but we don't have any hazards. And then we go into Refresh. So we draw a hazard, or in fact 2 hazards, If you want to play the easy version of this game, you draw 1 hazard per turn, and if you're going to play normal, then you draw 2. Lost and Annoying Bugs. So it says here, lose 1 health and discard a random card from your hand. If you have no cards in your hand, you may discard Lost. So this is going to activate every turn that we still have it here in the hazard line. This one here is Annoying Bugs, and it will take us 2 survival points to beat this one. So survival points are represented on the card here. And we'll just ignore this lower icon there because I think it has to do with a harder variant of this game, or something that happens in maybe an expansion that was planned for this. I'm not entirely sure. But then also when we refresh, we draw 3 more skill cards, and we slide this one down. So here at the bottom it says at the refresh phase, skills in this location are placed in the skills discard pile. So if we don't buy that this turn, then it's just going to be discarded. It doesn't mean that we'll never be able to buy it though, because when we run out of cards here, we just shuffle that up and we put these here again. So we draw 6 cards. So make, hit, make, hit. So each of these have slightly different values, but in general the make cards have more light bulb and the hit cards have more survival. So I think that I'm going to want to buy the cave because it says ongoing, increase your hand size by 1. And I would definitely like to be able to have 7 cards in my hand every turn. So that will cost us 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all of our cards. And we discard these. Then we do the hazard phase. It says, lose 1 health and discard a random card from your hand. If you have no cards in your hand, you may discard Lost. So I still have 2 cards in my hand. I will lose 1 health and I'll discard a card. And ongoing, lose 1 health. That's what happens when I am attacked by the bugs at the end of the turn. So down to 8 health, and at the end of the turn you have to discard all of your cards. And when you reach the end of the discard pile, of course you have to shuffle again. So, refresh. Scoot these down too. If the cards get pushed off the end here, or if they are here at the end of the refresh phase, then they get discarded as well. I think this has to do with end of the game scoring. So what have we got here? It says Meteor. Choose then discard this hazard. So destroy all face-up cards in the skills row and do not refresh at the end of the turn, or destroy the top 3 cards of the Thag deck. Okay, so that's pretty rough. And Poor Diet. It says ongoing. The skills row can only hold 3 cards while Poor Diet is out. So I don't get to draw any new cards. So I'll just scoot these down. And we'll draw. So this Meteor is really going to be a pain in the neck. But I think what I'm going to do is I want to just get rid of all of the face-up cards in the skills row when I get to that point. The hazard hasn't activated yet, so I can still buy these if I want. So I have Healing Clay. I'm going to spend that, and that says discard to gain 1 health point. So here we go. So I have 2 hits, and I'm going to use that to squish these bugs. And I'm going to start building the medicine hut. So it says to build, place, and play area, lay 2 cards face down on the card, and then you discard 1 card each turn. So I'm going to put this here because I want to build it. And turn it sideways because it's not activated, and there we have 2 cards. So that's the end of my actions. It's time for the hazards. So I'm going to destroy all face-up cards in the skills row. That means these are not coming back. They're just out of the game for good. And I don't get to refresh that this turn. So we move into refresh. Lost, thankfully, is discarded. I have 2 rampaging dinosaurs. This is terrible luck. Okay, well, let's see if we can survive. So, if we can't kill these dinosaurs by the time the hazard round goes again, then it says, ongoing, draw a bottom card of the skills deck. Note the skill cost X, then choose destroy X cards in your hand, or lose X health. That can be bad. As you see, like, some of the cards cost 6 or 8, or even 4 health is a lot to lose, especially since we have 2 of these dinosaurs. So this isn't good, and I think poor Thag might be headed for an early end here. So the official turn sequence is called first tribe, and that's when you draw, action, hazard, and refresh. But I think that it's easier for me to remember the order of things if I say draw, because that makes more sense to me than tribe. So draw, build, because otherwise I sometimes forget to take the cards off of my buildings. Draw, build, action, hazard, refresh. So that's all we got there. Let's take some actions if we can. We have 1, 2 attack. And each of these are going to need 8 to kill. Not great. And we get to build. This will be up and running next turn. Yeah, poor Thag. I do not think we can actually do anything with these cards. So that's that. After the action turn, then we go to the hazard turn. So poor diet, we don't have to worry about that. Rampaging dinosaur. So we draw the bottom card of our skill deck. And this is worth 3 points, or it has a cost of 3 points. That means I have to destroy 3 cards or lose 3 HP. And I don't want to destroy these cards. If at any point your deck is not large enough to draw a full hand, then you also lose. So we discard the skill for now. And we'll take 3 hit points. 1, 2, 3. And time for the second dinosaur. Oh, thankfully it is only 1. So that's okay, we can handle that. And that's the end. And we'll refresh. All right. So now in addition to 2 dinosaurs, we have injury. It says lose 3 health, then shuffle injury back into the hazard deck. If you have built the medicine hut, move injury to the discard pile. Ooh, so I'll have the medicine hut up and running by then, so that's very good. But I also have a saber-toothed tiger over here. This enemy says ongoing. Draw a bottom card of the skill deck, note the skill cost X, then shuffle card back into the skill deck, lose X health. Alright, so let's draw 6 cards. We have 1, 2, 3. And now we can just reshuffle the discard pile and draw our remaining cards. Make, hit, hit, make, hit, make. So these are all still my starter cards. But we refresh, we draw, we build, so this is done. And we can put this back in the discard. The medicine hut is now active, so gain 1 health point per turn. We get to heal 1 point. Let's see if we have enough survival to take down the saber-toothed tiger. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, good. So I can discard all of these cards and get rid of the cat. And that's everything that I can do. So it is the hazards deck, and we activate the hazards from oldest to newest. So we have Rampaging Dinosaur, 1, 6. Okay, so I have to either destroy 6 cards or lose 6 health, but if I lose 6 health, then I am dead, so I have to destroy 6 cards. Oh wow, this hurts. Okay, Rampaging Dinosaur 2. Net Trap, thankfully it's only 2. Oh, my hand is getting pretty bare. I think I'm just going to take that in hit point damage. But then I forgot about this injury. It says lose 3 health. 1, 2, 3. Oh no. And then shuffle injury back into the hazard deck. Oh, wait. Never mind. I think I have to still lose 3 health, but at least I don't have to shuffle it back into the hazard deck. That's my understanding of it. Because it says lose 3 health, and if you built the medicine tent, you can move injury to the discard pile, but it doesn't say before, so I think I still had to take that damage. And that's that. So let's refresh. Oh my goodness, giant hyena and poison berries. So ongoing, lose health equal to the idea total in your hand. You may not build while the giant hyena is out. And poison berries, choose then discard hazard. Destroy a random card from your hand or lose 1 health. Oh, we're not doing so great here. Let's do our best, however. So 1, and then we reshuffle. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we only have 2 more cards in the draw deck, so I don't think I'm going to build this cave, because then we would have to draw 7 cards every turn, and that wouldn't make things any better for us. Oh, and also, of course, when we refresh, we draw 3 new skill cards. I need to get rid of this hyena in a bad way. And I have 5 total survival points, so I could fight the hyena. I think I'm gonna do that. Because otherwise I would have to lose health equal to the idea total in my hand. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nope. Oh, I forgot to heal with my medicine hut. So that helped a little bit. I'm just going to discard these and get rid of the hyena. So I did my actions, and now it's time to resolve the hazards. So from left to right, Rampaging Dinosaur, Net Trap, so 2. I have to either lose 2 hit points, which I cannot do, or destroy 2 cards. I guess I have to destroy 2 cards. And I think this spells our doom. But we will just continue on. So, next Rampaging Dinosaur. Soothing Leaves, at least it's only 2. I still can't lose this in health, so let's destroy 2. And then we do the refresh phase. And these two get discarded, but at least we can get our full lineup back because Poor Diet is out of the picture. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and the game is over. I do not have enough cards to draw a full hand. So that was Thag. What are my thoughts on this game? Let's talk about it. Alright, so that was Thag the Deck Builder. What are my thoughts? So first off, as usual, I think we should go into the build. Thag is very easy to build. It's just a 6-part board and some cards. And there are a lot of cards, so it might take you a little bit of time to cut them all out and round all the corners, but it's perfectly fine. And the board is also pretty easy. You can just print it out on paper and tape it together, or it's pretty easy to make a 6-part folding board because all of the pieces are equally sized, so that's very nice and very convenient. So I think one of the most obvious things about this game is how awesome the artwork is. It's fantastically cartoony. I just love Thag. This caveman has a huge personality. I love watching him and his antics, and I also really like how there's different artwork for pretty much every card as far as I can tell. I mean, even though you have multiple cards that are called Make, it's a different picture on each card, which is awesome. I'm really into that. The artwork kind of reminds me of like a newspaper cartoon or something, and I like it. The art style is really unified. You can see it all through the artwork in the cards and through the board, which is lovely. It's super professional looking and really polished. So the artwork and the aesthetics of this game is great. This game reminds me a lot of Friday in a few different ways. One of them is that you are also just kind of a clueless person in both Friday and in Thag, and you start out with pretty not so useful cards, and you build up your hand over time and try to get rid of the less valuable cards. And then at the end you have a big showdown with a final boss. In Friday it was the Pirates, and in Thag it is the T-Rex. Now, Friday is one of my favorite games of all time, so comparing it to that game is definitely not a bad thing. So the things I liked about this game, besides the aforementioned art style, which is like amazing. It's amazing to me that somebody managed to put in this much work for a P&P contest game. I guess I like the deck building mechanic in general. I haven't played a ton of deck building games in my life, but this feels good. I like the feeling of progression. I like the feeling of being able to buy more and more valuable cards. I also like how each card is essentially worth 2 kinds of currency. You can spend it on idea points to buy new skills, or you can spend it to fight. And most cards have both an idea point and a survival point value. The hazards are fun and they mix it up. You never know what is coming next, and it keeps the game from getting too samey. I like the whole concept of building buildings and needing to take time to construct them. I also like how some of the hazards can be completely avoided if you have the right structure built. Like, you didn't see this hazard, I think, but there's one called Cold, and if you have a campfire built, then you don't actually have to take any damage from the cold. So that's clever. I like it. I like that with the hazards, you aren't stuck with them forever. So even if it's a very difficult hazard that you're having a really hard time getting rid of, eventually, if you can survive long enough, it will get pushed off the end into the hazard discard pile. So all in all, I really like the general mechanics of this game. I like the spending and the building up of the cards, and I like the construction of buildings. You can only have 3 buildings, so you have to really choose them carefully. You can deconstruct them later, but it's not free. You do have to spend cards on it. You're upstaging me. So what didn't I like so much about this game? Well, first off, I believe that normal difficulty is way too hard. I have never managed to get very far with normal difficulty. I think that pulling out 2 new hazard cards every turn is a lot to deal with. This game feels so much more balanced when you play on easy mode, so much so that I think that maybe easy mode should be the default and that normal should be actually expert. And this game is hard. Even if you play on easy mode with just 1 hazard per turn, the final showdown with the T-Rex is extremely difficult. I never came close to beating it, and I've played this game a few times. There's a couple of things with this game that I'm not entirely sure whether it's a mistake or not, or whether the designers just didn't really think about it. But there is a hazard called injury. I think we saw this earlier in the playthrough. And if you are not able to fend it off with the medicine hut, you need to shuffle it back into your hazard deck after you take damage from it. And this is a bit interesting, because if you shuffle it into your hazard deck, that means that the T-Rex is not necessarily going to be near the end of the deck anymore. So maybe it's just gonna pop up the next turn and you're not ready for it. I feel like maybe this was a bug or something the designers forgot, because I think that the T-Rex fight has not always been part of this game. But I did play with it according to the rules, so I'm not entirely sure. And speaking of playing according to the rules, I had a hard time interpreting what some of the cards mean, and I feel like the instructions could have been a little bit clearer, that there's just a few card meanings where I'm just not entirely sure how it works. Something I'm not really a big fan of is the fact that there is a good deal of luck inherent to this kind of game. Now, there is definitely strategy in which cards you buy and which cards you get rid of, but sometimes you can just be really unlucky and get a terrible hazard early in the game, like in the case of my game that I just played, how I had 2 rampaging dinosaurs in a row. Those are brutal, and it's extremely hard to deal with these, especially since they can do... I think that some cards have a buy value of 8, so you could get up to 8 damage in a single turn, or have to destroy 8 of your cards. That is a lot of... That's a lot. So my final verdict on Thag is kind of difficult. I have sort of mixed feelings about this game. I wanted to love it. As soon as I saw it, I adored the artwork, I read the manual, and I thought, wow, this sounds super cool. It reminds me of Friday in all the best ways, and I thought this is going to be a solid game in my rotation. And in general, I think that the engine that it's built upon is good. I believe that at its core, this is a good game. The whole idea behind it, the way that you buy the cards, the way that you spend them, the way that things progress, I think it's a great system. The problem that I have is that right now I feel like it isn't quite balanced enough yet. I'm not saying that it's not fun, because you can still have a good amount of fun playing this game. Problem with playing on easy mode is that the game is twice as long. So you draw only 1 hazard per turn in easy mode, which means that you are moving at half the speed of normal mode. So my easy games have easily lasted over an hour, maybe up to 2 hours. But that might also have just been me overthinking things a little bit. On easy mode, this feels like it drags a little bit too long. One of the things I like most about Friday is how short and snappy it is, and I feel like a game like this would also benefit from having that kind of quick pick up and play sort of feel. Hey, Strudel. My dog is hyper. So what is my final verdict on Thag? So yeah, as I said before, I think Thag is built on a solid foundation. I think that Thag could become something really amazing. From what I can tell, it sounds like there's going to be some more expansions where you can take Thag into like later ages of civilization or something, and that sounds super cool. I want to play that game. I would recommend that you play this game, even though it does have some balance issues right now. My dog is squeaking her squeaky toy. She doesn't want me to film YouTube right now. She wants my attention. I believe that with enough playtesting, this game can eventually find its balance. It can find its sweet spot. So yeah, Thag. As it is right now, unpolished and not an ideal gaming experience for me, but still a fun time to play around with, and I do suggest that you check it out. I sincerely hope that more work is going to be done on this game going forward, because I can see Thag easily becoming one of my favorite and most played games. Because as I said, I love Friday, and this in some ways feels kind of like a more deep version of Friday. With some work, if this game ever hit retail, I could imagine myself blowing a lot of money on expansions. Like, that is how much I believe in the potential of this game. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, and if you like, you can support me on Patreon. You can also check out the Facebook group for solo adventurers. So until next time, stay adventurous.